Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2000 DreamWorks animation feature film Chicken Run. So this is a film that I never liked as a kid. I watched it once with my brother. We never watched it again. We did not like that a chicken was killed immediately in the beginning of the film. And I have memories of the flashbacks of memories of watching this. It's all claymation, so it's stop motion. The character design always creeped me out, like the very large mouths and that creepy smile and the dead eyes with no eyelids. It was very concerning. And watching it now, 23 years later, because this came out in 2000, there's a sequel coming out to Netflix at the end of this year, come Christmas time. Why? Couldn't tell you. But it's a stop motion animation again, so I'm going to watch it because not many films are stop motion, and it's a very hard animation style to do. It's a very hard artistic style to do, so I'm going to support it because of the art aspect of it. But also kudos to the producers, I guess, for saying, you know what, it's been 23 years, let's make a sequel to this kids film that all those kids are now millennial grown-ups, quote-unquote grown-ups. It's about these chickens, and they're trying to run away from the chicken farm that they're imprisoned in. They are made to lay eggs. If they don't lay eggs, they get chopped and eaten. And so it's a violent movie for a kid's film. And it's interesting with and it takes place in England. Okay, it's an England chicken farm. So then the chickens are friends with these rats, and they can all talk to each other. But they can't talk to the dogs for some reason. The dogs just bark. They don't actually communicate as the chickens and rats do. Don't understand it. But there's just two humans. Well, three, technically. The circus performer. So there's an American rooster who comes around. His name is Rocky Road. Rocky Road from Rhode Island, right? Rhodes from Rhode Island. And he's a part of a circus. And he escaped the circus as they're traveling in England, and he somehow wound up crash landing in this chicken farm, and this main chicken, Ginger, is trying to hatch the plan, no pun intended, to escape, to learn how to fly, to get out of this chicken farm. So Rocky's like, oh yeah, I can fly, but he sprained his wing, so he's healing, but then verbally teaching them how to do it. And then eventually the older, rooster of the group, says that he was in the Royal Air Force, and so he breaks out the plans for planes, and the chickens then make their own version of a plane, which is very similar to the bird that the ants create in A Bug's Life. Very similar. It's the it's the pedaled flapping of the wings with the, creation you created to launch them out, to get them over the fence, to soar into the night. But then, of course, the old woman with her hatchet comes around and sneaks a ride on, and then it's the woman versus Ginger, and the hatchet gets sliced on the string lights, and then she goes flying into the chicken pot pie machine that, she's trying to then now just make chicken pot pie to sell instead of selling eggs and / chicken meat. So it's quick. It's an hour and 20 something long. It's adventurous. The best part about the film is the very end, where the two rats are just talking about what came first, the chicken or the egg. Absolutely hysterical. The best part of this film, though, is the soundtrack, the score. The music in this is so cinematic and so DreamWorks. DreamWorks is and I've talked about this with other DreamWorks films we talked about. They have a very good production when it comes to music, when it comes to a soundtrack, when it comes to the musical score of passing a scene along. It's very dramatic, but it's very cinematic, and it's very bump 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 kind of a thing, and it's wonderful. You know what kind of film it is. You know that this is an action scene going on. You know that this is a sad, solemn scene going on. It's very straightforward. There's no guessing. There's no comic music is playing as a murder scene is happening kind of a thing. We've talked about that in certain films. It makes no sense where the film doesn't know what the hell it's trying to be. This film knows what it's trying to be. So I give the music a lot of credit. The memes that we've gotten over the last 23 years from this are still iconic and very recognizable. But again, I still don't like this film all these years later. The characters just creep me out. It's just those dead eyes and the big smiles. I don't get it. It's a style. It's an animation style. It's done very well in England with Wallace and Gromit. It's done very well with Shaun the Sheep. That production company's done very, very well with that animation style all these 30 years later. Good for them. It's not for me. I don't have to like everything, and that's okay. We watched it. It's a historical classic film at this point, since there's been 23 years and a sequel's coming out in what? It's now August 6th I'm talking about this. September, October, November, December. 4 months from now, we're getting a sequel 23 years later to the original 2000 film. So Chicken Run, DreamWorks classic animation film. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.